The King's Forgotten Taste, an Afghan folktale. Long ago, before he became king, young Prince Zahir was separated from his royal guards during a fierce sandstorm in the mountains of Afghanistan. Cold, hungry, and frightened, he wandered alone until he saw a faint light glowing in the distance. It came from a small mud brick house standing quietly among the rocky hills. Gathering his courage, the young prince knocked on the wooden door. An elderly widow opened it. She looked at the tired boy covered in dust and smiled with kindness. Without asking who he was or where he came from, she welcomed him inside. "I cannot offer you riches, child," she said gently, "but no one should sleep hungry." The little house was humble. A clay pot simmered over a small fire, filling the room with a comforting aroma. The widow served him a simple bowl of stew made with onions, lentils, a few fresh herbs, and a pinch of salt. Prince Zahir had eaten in royal palaces all his life, surrounded by magnificent feasts and the finest cooks in the kingdom. Yet somehow this simple meal tasted better than anything he had ever known. It wasn't just delicious, it was unforgettable. Years passed. The young prince grew into King Zahir, ruler of a prosperous kingdom. Every day, the finest chefs prepared magnificent banquets for him. They brought rare spices from Persia, fragrant herbs from distant mountains, sweet fruits from India, and luxurious dishes from every corner of the world. Golden platters covered his royal table. Every meal looked magnificent. But every time he tasted them, one memory returned. The humble bowl of stew served by the kind widow. No matter how rich the feast, nothing ever tasted the same. One spring morning, the king made an extraordinary announcement. "Whoever can recreate the taste of the stew I ate as a child shall become royal chef and receive 100 gold coins." The news spread across the kingdom like wildfire. Soon the palace was filled with famous chefs. Some carried expensive saffron. Others brought almonds, rare herbs, exotic spices, and secret family recipes passed down for generations. The royal kitchens became busier than ever. Day after day, magnificent dishes were prepared. Each chef believed they had discovered the perfect recipe. One by one, they proudly placed steaming bowls before the king. King Zahir tasted each one carefully. Then, after a long silence, he gently shook his head. "No, this isn't it." Another chef stepped forward. Again the king tasted. Again he sighed. "No." Weeks became months. Months became seasons. Still no one succeeded. People throughout the kingdom began to whisper, "Perhaps the king has forgotten the taste. Perhaps no such stew ever existed." But King Zahir never doubted himself. "I know what I tasted," he would quietly say. Then one morning, an old village cook named Rahim arrived at the palace. Unlike the famous chefs, he carried no baskets of spices, no expensive ingredients, no servants, only an old wooden spoon worn smooth by many years of cooking. The royal chefs laughed. "Has he come to stir memories instead of soup?" Rahim simply smiled. He bowed respectfully before the king. "Your Majesty, before I cook, may I ask you one question?" The great hall fell silent. No chef had ever dared question the king. King Zahir nodded. "You may ask." Rahim looked into the king's eyes. "When you ate that stew, were you a king?" The king paused. "No." "Were you wearing silk robes?" "No." "Did you know where your next meal would come from?" The king lowered his eyes. "No." Rahim smiled gently. "Then allow me one day." The following morning, Rahim made an unusual request. He asked the king to remove his royal robes, leave the palace behind, and walk with him into the mountains. The ministers protested. "This is madness." But King Zahir agreed. Together they walked beneath the hot Afghan sun. They climbed rocky paths, crossed narrow streams, carried their own water. Along the way, they met an old shepherd struggling to repair a broken cart. Without hesitation, the king knelt beside him and helped. By the time the sun began to set, King Zahir was exhausted. His feet ached. His clothes were covered in dust. Most of all, he was hungry. Rahim gathered a few pieces of wood and lit a small fire beneath a lonely tree. He placed a simple clay pot over the flames. Into it went onions, lentils, fresh herbs, a little salt, nothing more. Soon the familiar aroma drifted through the evening air. Rahim filled a wooden bowl and handed it to the king. The royal court watched in complete silence. King Zahir lifted the spoon. He took one bite, then another. For a long moment, no one spoke. Slowly, tears filled the king's eyes. "This," he whispered, "this is the taste." The palace chef stared in disbelief. "Impossible! There are no rare spices. There is nothing special in that stew." Rahim smiled softly. "There never was." He looked at the king and said, "Your Majesty, you were never searching for a recipe. You were searching for a moment, the hunger you felt, the kindness of a stranger, the warmth after the cold, the comfort of being cared for when you had nothing. Those were the true ingredients." King Zahir stood silently for a long time. Then he removed the royal chef's medal from around his own neck and placed it upon Rahim's shoulders. Looking at everyone gathered before him, he said, "A talented chef seasons food. A wise chef understands the heart that tastes it." From that day forward, every royal banquet began with one simple bowl of humble stew, not because it was the richest meal, but because it reminded the kingdom that the greatest flavor in life cannot be bought with gold, discovered in rare spices, or prepared in royal kitchens. It is created by gratitude, kindness, and the memories we carry in our hearts. And sometimes, the meals we never forget are not the ones that filled our stomachs, but the ones that filled our souls.